off the regular price, which would put them in the $40 price range to compete with Ginghers. Now, I received them fairly quickly because they are based out of New Braunfels, Texas, which is southwest of Austin and probably about 3.5 hours from here. So when I got my box, I opened it up. It's a nice box, you know, very comparable to the type of box you get when you buy Ginghers. And there's a little card inside, which is a message from the owners thanking me for my purchase. And then there's also an individual person to contact if I have any problems with my order. So when I opened my shears, the first thing I noticed is that they were in this plastic sleeve, which is, you know, not quite as sturdy as the really heavy plastic that my Ginghers are in. And the other thing I noticed was that it was full of oil. So I pulled my scissors out and they're oily. And I was a little concerned by that because if you're cutting fabric, the last thing you want is for there to be oil on it because it's going to ruin your fabric. Now, the other thing I noticed fairly quickly was that the rubber on the handles is kind of tacky. So not necessarily like sticky that you'd stick to it, but it's reminiscent of the plasticky rubber coating that they put on tools. And that also is kind of weird when it comes to sewing scissors. Needless to say, I decided that with the oily scissors and the kind of tacky handles, I would send an email to their customer service guy and ask him, you know, what was going on. He responded to me fairly quickly and told me that they put oil on the blades to help them stay sharp and that he would let the manufacturer know that they probably were using too much oil. And then he said that the handles were supposed to be sticky so you could hold on to them. So the issue I have with these things is that these scissors were not coming directly from China. They're sitting in a warehouse in New Braunfels because there's no way I would have gotten them in, 3 days if they were from China. So maybe you should have used a little bit of quality control and check the scissors before you mail them out to people to make sure they're not full of oil. Now, initially there was actually more oil because there was actually oil in the sleeve. But the other thing that I just thought was very strange is like, they're sewing scissors. You're using them on a table to cut fabric. Are you concerned about losing your grip on them that you would need this kind of strange rubberized coating on the handles? I don't know. It's kind of disconcerting. He then recommended that I use a rag to clean the oil off the scissors because that's what other people who've purchased the scissors have done. Now, I don't know about you, but I don't really want to have to clean scissors that I just paid money for. I would like them to come in usable order so that I could take them out of their little sleeve and use them immediately. But no. These still have oil on them. So I'm going to grab a rag and we're going to see how long it takes to get the oil off of these before we test them out on any kind of fabric. So I've got this 100% cotton dish towel that I'm going to use. It'll be sacrificed to the cause. It's actually tan, so don't think that it's that dirty. It's really not. And I'm just going to wipe off the oil and kind of rub these scissors. There's a considerable amount of oil. I mean, it's visible. I showed it to you earlier so you could kind of see it. I don't know why you would need to have that much oil on a pair of scissors. And I'm also going to clean it because there's some more of it up here under this piece and on this side. Needless to say, his response was not really satisfactory because I don't want oil on my scissors. This is for fabric. I'm not cutting carpet with these things. So, okay, that looks like that might be off. They do seem fairly sharp, so if you do try these out, be careful when you clean the oil off of them because I'm guessing all the scissors you order will have oil on them, just based on the response I got. So, okay, that looks okay. It kind of smell funny. All right. Let's test them out against some Ginghers. I have a variety of fabrics here. I have some lighter weight fabrics. I have a linen. I have a lawn. This is a cotton linen blend. This is 100% cotton. I have some fleece that I use to make grandma's jacket. And then I have some very lightweight vinyl that would kind of be raincoat type material. So it's that kind of a weight vinyl. It's not super heavy. Now, let's test this out and see how they cut. Okay, so it seems to be cutting pretty well. Nice and sharp, even line. Let's go in for a closer look so y'all could see the details. It's making a nice straight, even line. They open and close well. Maybe that's because of the oil. I don't know. Okay, now to compare with my Ginghers. The Ginghers feel a little bit smoother going through. I'm sure that the cuts look very similar on both of them. Let's try lawn next. Definitely need one piece of this because we'll do a side-by-side comparison. Guggenheim's first. Now this does kind of feel like I'm slicing through butter, but this is very, very lightweight fabric. Now with the Ginghers, not quite as smooth cutting. The feeling doesn't feel like I'm slicing through butter, but still very good cutting compared to the Guggenheims. And I've got some fleece here. And as you know, fleece just tends to be a little bit harder to cut just because it's thicker. Let's see what that feels like. So it seems to be cutting the fleece very evenly, very smoothly. You have a nice smooth straight edge there. And it does again feel like kind of cutting butter. Now the only thing is that you can see that some of the fleece is getting stuck to this blade. There's still a little bit of oil on the blade. Let's try with these. So, you know, Ginghers are still good, comparable, not quite as butter-like cutting as the Guggenheims, but, you know, the fact that these still have oil on them after I have cleaned them is a little concerning to me. So let's try the vinyl last. It's just same thing, kind of slicing through the vinyl, no problem. And to compare with the Ginghers. Ginghers are a little bit stiffer going through, but they still do a good job. Now you may be thinking, well, that's great, Tony, but won't most sewing shears cut fashion fabric the same way? And yes, you would be right. Whether you're using Ginghers or Fiskars or these new Guggenheims, pretty much fashion fabric isn't super hard to cut anyway. So I went and dug through my fabric bins out in the garage, and I found some more difficult fabrics to test the Guggenheim versus the Ginghers. Now, first things first, I've got this burgundy felt. This is just regular kind of felt. I used this to make some handmade costumes back in the day. And let's see how the Guggenheim tackles this. That was really easy. Let's compare to the Ginghers. A little bit more of a drag as I'm cutting, but both have nice even edges. All right, so that's felt, not too tough. Next, I've got this 3/4 inch batting. So this is for, I'm not really sure what this is for. It comes in these huge rolls at Joann's, and you can buy it by the yard. So I use this to stabilize kind of big costumes that were very structural. So I dug this out. Let's see how the Guggenheim shears do. So this is very easy to cut with these shears. They are now covered with the fuzzies from the, whatever this is, batting. Let's try with the Ginghers. Ginghers are a little bit tougher to cut. They go through fine. Requires a little bit more movement on my part. So that's probably also because these blades are longer. So between these cutting, I think it's easier to cut with the Guggenheims, but the Ginghers cut just as well if it's just a little bit, you know, more of a drag. So next I've got some faux fur that I dug out. Let me find the edge of this so we can just cut some off. Okay, let's go with the Guggenheim first. I'm just going to cut. Goes through really well, very easily. No drag, not a lot of effort on my hand either to make this go through this fabric. As you can see, it's got a pile on it. Worked out nice. They are building up with lint between the batting and the fur. So try the Ginghers now. Same as with the other types of thicker fabrics, there's a little kind of bit of a drag. You have to make more cuts because the blades aren't as long. So if you're doing a lot of cutting, you know, your hand's probably going to get tired. But all in all, pretty much very similar cutting experience. But for the Guggenheims are a little bit faster and a little bit lintier. So second to last fabric, I have some upholstery vinyl. So this is upholstery weight vinyl. It is not the thin kind. It's the felt backed kind that you'd use for, you know, recreational vehicles or boats. We'll start with the Guggenheim, see how these cut. Now this is going through super, super smooth. Very easy to cut this out. Minimal effort on my part. The scissors just kind of go through. We'll try with the... So the Ginghers, by comparison, you know, they're doing the job. It's a little bit more effort on my part, but not a lot. So still fairly similar. And last but not least, I've got some horsehair braid. Now this is plastic. This is, if you're not familiar with horsehair braid, this is what you put in the bottom of formal wear to give that nice crisp edge on the very bottom of your skirt. So this is actually like a plastic mesh. We're going to try this with the Guggenheims. Just really easy to cut. Did a really nice job. Nice clean edge. And now with my Ginghers, a little bit stiffer to go through, not quite as easy, but also does the job. You may be wondering, well, what's the secret? What's the secret behind Guggenheim shears that makes them special? I don't know, okay? I've been racking my brain trying to figure it out. They do open fairly wide compared to the Ginghers. You know, they open wider. I think that might be because of the placement of this kind of screw that's holding the two blades together, but I don't know. Comparing the two sets of shears side by side, the Guggenheims are definitely longer. The lower blade handle is definitely larger, and there is a little bit more of an ergonomic feel to the upper thumb loop part of the blade. When I was cutting, I realized that my hands are rather wide and it's not comfortable to cut with 4 fingers in here. I've got wide enough hands that like I can't wear bangles because they don't fit over my hands. So just to put that into context. So holding my fingers like this is not comfortable. I found myself when I was cutting, like letting my little pinky go, and then you don't have quite as much of a grip compared to the Ginghers, which are just 3 fingers from the get-go. So that was one thing I definitely noticed when I was cutting. I did mention that these have lint on them. My Ginghers do have a little bit of lint on them from cutting the batting, but otherwise they're lint-free. The lint is still stuck to these. I don't know if there's still oil on them or not. I can wipe them off again and we'll see. All in all, I have to say, I do think that the Guggenheims cut difficult fabrics better than the Ginghers. It was a lot less effort required to make nice, clean, smooth cuts. So I would definitely recommend these shears for, you know, batting or felt or fur, or if you're making something out of, you know, upholstery vinyl, they would be great. But I don't think I would use them for my fashion fabrics. I think I'd still stick with my Ginghers. They just, I don't know. I just feel like you have more control over these because the blades are a little bit shorter. And unless you need them something very specific for heavy duty fabric, then I'd still use my Ginghers because they're still my favorite. Now, the Guggenheims are good if you don't want to spend the money on the Ginghers, which rarely go on sale, although occasionally you can get a coupon. You know, $19.99, if that's going to be the going rate for these, it's not bad. You know, I did kind of start getting used to the way that they have that kind of sticky feel. Do I love it? Absolutely not. I don't think it's necessary on sewing shears, but, you know, for some reason, the people that design them this way do. maybe they only cut heavy duty fabrics. I don't know. But I would say that between the two, you know, still going to love my Ginghers and keep them. You know, will I go ask for my money back? No, I don't think that they're better than Ginghers. I think that they're different. So I think that they're worth keeping for, you know, projects where I need some heavy duty shears that are really sharp, because they are very sharp and they do cut very well. But for day-to-day use, I'm going to still stick with my Ginghers. Let me know what you think. Have you tried the Guggenheim shears? Do you like them? Do you hate them? Do you think they're sticky like I do? Or yours as oily as mine are? I'd love to know. And, you know, do you love Ginghers better? Leave a note in the comments, and I look forward to hearing from you. In the meantime, if you've enjoyed this video, you totally want to check out this one coming up next, and I'll see you